The GI tract is under both nervous and hormonal regulation. If we look at sort of the GI tract and its regulation, there has to be some sort of stimulus, right? And the stimulus is basically going to be distension or stretching of parts of the GI tract caused by the presence of food. It can also be based off of osmolarity because as food particles move from one place to another, it'll change the osmolarity as well as the pH or the acidity of the different regions. Now, when we talk about the overall control or integration of the GI tract, we often talk about what we call long reflexes and short reflexes. Long reflexes are ones that are going to involve the brain, the central nervous system, whereas short reflexes are sort of contained within the GI tract itself using inner neurons. So, the distension is going to be picked up by sensory receptors, same as osmolarity, and it will be picked up by some sort of sensory receptor. So we'll write this here, sensory receptor, right? And this can take a couple different paths. One is it can send it to essentially the brain, and they call that the cephalic brain. It's what you talk about when you talk about brain, because a lot of people will call the contained nervous system within the GI tract the gut brain. So you might see this one referred to as the cephalic brain as designation, especially when talking about the GI tract. The other thing is that the sensory receptor can send the signal to interneurons. So this is sort of the short reflex. So we have short reflex in red and long reflex in gray. Either way it goes, both of them are going to send their signal over to enteric neurons. These are neurons just housed within the GI tract. So they'll send it to enteric neurons. Now, these enteric neurons can send their signals over to secretory cells of the GI tract, okay? Or they can send their signal to smooth muscle or exocrine cells, okay? And that can be part of the short or long sort of pathway. Now, when the secretory cells get this signal, they will secrete GI peptides. Now, when we talk about secretory cells, right, if you think about the overall design of the GI tract, like let's say you have your tube, which is your GI tract here, right, and you are going to have a cell that sits here. Now, it will excrete or secrete its product into the ECF out here, right? So these secretory cells that we have listed here, think about these as hormonal cells, right? And they can be hormonal in the nature that they produce true hormones that are picked up by the blood to be transported elsewhere, right? Or they can be paracrines. And remember, paracrines are just molecules that basically send their signal locally, so to different cells, but locally within the tissues. So when we look at these GI peptides, right, the main ones that we discuss are gastrin, secretin, cholecystokinin or CCK, and motilin. Okay? So gastrin is one that is released by the stomach. Okay, and it's going to stimulate acid secretion. Okay, secretin is going to come from the duodenum or duodenum, depending on who you're talking to. And it is going to target the pancreas to secrete bicarbonate. CCK is going to be released by the duodenum as well. Okay? And it is going to stimulate the enzyme secretions from the pancreas, and it is going to sort of stop the stomach emptying. And then motilin is from the duodenum and the jejunum. Oops. And it is going to regulate motility patterns in the gut. Right? So that one's an easy one to remember. So these are the four main hormones / paracrines that are released in this regulation, and we'll talk about sort of their role at each of the different levels when we get to that component of the GI tract.